Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dogs, and this is Ron's Bank Shot Breakdown. We're going to go over 5 college basketball games for Friday, November 24th, 2023. Now, if you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to put your college basketball picks in the comments section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, including my $19 Bank Shot best bet, you can find those at the Premium Picks tab at pickdogs.com. Alrighty, let's get into it. Here are the games for Friday in college basketball. First up, we see Bryant and Xavier, this one 12 p.m. Eastern on Fox Sports 1. I mentioned a few times I'm not in love with the Xavier team on paper, and we saw them lose a lot of production in the offseason. And then, their top 2 players going into this year were also ruled out for basically the entire season due to injury. So it just didn't look like a great Xavier team on paper. And so far, they're 3-2. They played fine. 2 losses to Purdue and Washington, really not bad losses there. They're nice win against St. Mary's, 17-point victory in their last game. But to me, this just is a game where it's just way too many points for Xavier to be laying. The first time we saw Xavier as a big favorite, and it was the first game of the season against Robert Morris. They won that game by 14, but failed to cover. I could see a similar game here against Bryant. Bryant just beat Florida Atlantic not too long ago, outright 61-52. The defense has been there for Bryant. They're 9th in effective field goal percentage defense, really good 3-point and 2-point defense, and they force a lot of tough shots. Xavier takes a lot of tough shots. They take a lot of low percentage looks, and they've made those mid-range jumpers at a decent rate this season. But going forward, I just don't think that those are going to be sustainable ways of scoring for Xavier. The defense has actually been pretty solid for the Musketeers, and it's ranked 15th in adjusted defensive efficiency. So I do expect more of a lower scoring game here. But in a low scoring game, I think 18 points, especially this opening number, 18 points, just way too many. So I'm going to take the points with Bryant in this game. I think Xavier wins. Bryant covers. Next up, we see Delaware State and Longwood. This one's going to be 3 p.m. Eastern on ESPN+. To me, this is a mismatch on paper. Longwood opened the season with a tough loss at St. Bonaventure, but that was a close game. Longwood's offense, the shooting numbers just weren't there in that game. And overall, Longwood's shooting numbers aren't great. They're 329th in effective field goal percentage, but they're getting really good open looks and high percentage shots. And the fundamentals are there for Longwood. Taking care of the basketball. They're top 70 in turnover percentage offensively. They're number 3 in the nation in offensive rebounding, and they're also getting to the free throw line and cashing in on their free throws, top 75 in free throw percentage as a team. So going forward, I see positive regression for this offense. It's already actually pretty strong to begin with. And against the Delaware State defense, I think Longwood scores at will in this game. Delaware State's defense really aggressive. They're 43rd in average possession like defensively. They force a lot of turnovers, but with Longwood taking care of the ball, I don't think it's going to really be an advantage for Delaware State. So I do think Longwood scores at will. The question is, can Delaware State keep up offensively? I just don't think so. And what we've seen so far in the court and the numbers just don't say it. Delaware State 354th in adjusted offensive efficiency, turning the ball over far too much. They have good offensive rebounding numbers, but Longwood's got really good defensive rebounding numbers. So to me, this is a mismatch here. I think Longwood wins this game by 20-plus points. Give me Longwood, the Lancers. I'll lay the points. Next up, we see Jacksonville and Robert Morris. This one's going to be 4 p.m. Eastern on ESPN+. It's a part of the Urban Bennett Memorial Classic, but it's a true home game for Robert Morris. I like this Robert Morris team. I think they're a lot better than their current record. I think they're going to be strong in conference play. They're 1-3 this season, but they're 3 losses, all 3 true road games against Xavier, Towson, and Wisconsin, top 200 teams in KenPom. Xavier was only a 14-point loss. They covered the spread in that game. Towson was only a 4-point loss, and then Wisconsin, competitive game there, 78-68, the final score. So Robert Morris has just been solid on both sides of the court. They forced a good amount of turnovers, really strong 3-point defense. It's one of the best shooting teams and really right now in college basketball from the perimeter, 36 in 3-point shooting, 38.8% as a team. And you're facing a Jacksonville team, and to me, it just isn't great fundamentally. Not really forcing many turnovers, not strong on the defensive glass, or taking a ton of fouls, which benefits a team like Robert Morris, who's one of the best free throw shooting teams in college basketball. And Jacksonville, they played a pretty weak schedule. We've seen them play a couple of tough Power 5 opponents in Pittsburgh and Xavier, and both of those games were absolute blowouts. They lost to Xavier by 23, and Pittsburgh was a final score of 107-56. So those are the two true road games. I don't like their chances in the third. Give me Robert Morris. I'll lay the points. Next up, we see Bowling Green and Western Kentucky. This one's 7 p.m. Eastern. It's a part of the Northern Classic, so it's a neutral site game. I think Bowling Green, while we're going to find some value spots with them in conference play, and we saw that in the beginning of the season when they played, some weaker opponents and opponents that benefited them in Arkansas State and Chicago State. This is still a program in a rebuilding year, and it's a very young team, a lot of junior college players. Todd Simon's a solid head coach. I think going forward, the Falcons are going to be competitive in the MAC, but this is just not their year, in my opinion, especially against Western Kentucky, a team I think is a lot better than their current offensive numbers. This is a similar team to Longwood, who is doing everything right offensively in terms of getting good looks, taking care of the ball, really good offensive rebounding numbers. They're just not making their open shots and their high percentage shots. They're ranked 339th in effective field goal percentage, 355th at three-point percentage. So they're missing some open looks. I think going forward, especially against defenses like Bowling Greens, we're going to see Western Kentucky start to cash in on more of those shots, and their offense is going to put up more points per game. And I think because of that, we're getting some value with Western Kentucky. To me, this line should be a lot closer to double digits than it is closer to a pick 'em. And I think Western Kentucky takes care of business here, even at the neutral site for a younger team as well. And a first-year head coach at Western Kentucky and Steve Lutz. I still like the Hilltoppers here to win this game and cover the numbers. So give me WKU. I like their aggressive style in both offense and defense. I think the amount of possessions really bodes well for them covering a number like this. So give me WKU. I'll lay the points. Next up, we see Baylor in Florida. This one's going to be 5:30 Eastern. It's going to be a part of the NIT season tip-off. It's a neutral site game at Barclays Center. It's going to be on ESPN. Now, Baylor took care of business against Oregon State. They won that game by 16 points. So, if you got that game in early, the opening line was right around 15 points. You would have won. Some of those lines were at 16, so you may have pushed. Some of the closing lines were at 16 and a half. So it was one of those games where it was really important to shop those numbers, and that's why we suggest you do that every day in all sports, because it could really, save you by the end of the year. But, they took care of business, won that game 88-72. They're now 5-0 to start the season. 11th in KenPom, really strong numbers for the Baylor Bears. But Florida, this was a team that we took Pittsburgh in that game plus the points against the Gators because I thought it was a beneficial matchup for Pittsburgh. And we saw on the glass where that was my big concern for the Gators. I didn't think they were going to have their big offensive rebounding advantage in that game. They didn't, but it didn't matter. I mean, Pittsburgh led the offensive rebounds 15-7, yet the Gators still won that game by 15 points. And that's why I think this Florida team could actually be a serious contender, not only in the SEC, but in the NCAA in general this year. And I do think that this is going to be a competitive game. I think the Gators have a real shot at winning this game outright. I like what I'm seeing a lot from Florida. We knew Todd Golden was a very smart head coach, a really good recruiter, but just fundamentally one of the better coaches, one of the more underrated coaches in college basketball. His team is playing really well, firing on all cylinders right now. We saw the blowout win against Florida State, which at the time didn't look like the strongest win, but then we just saw Florida State beat Colorado, a ranked team in the neutral site tournament, so that win's looking a lot more impressive. And then, of course, the blowout win against Pittsburgh. Florida doing everything right offensively, 19th in the country in adjusted offensive efficiency, getting a lot of good looks. There's still really, really good offensive rebounding numbers. It's going to benefit them in a game against Baylor, who's not the best defensive rebounding team. And, Florida getting to the free throw line. They're cashing on those 2-point field goals. Their front courts look real strong. The defense is still top 50 in the country in adjusted defensive efficiency. I think Florida wins this game outright at neutral site. Should be a great game, but I certainly think there's value taking those points with the Florida Gators. So give me the points with Florida here in this neutral site ball game. And that's it. Those are the games for Friday in college basketball. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. And don't forget to put your college basketball picks in the comments section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bet, you can find those at Pick Dogs Premium. As always, this is Ron Romanelli. Good luck.